Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about Hollyland Lark M2S. So let's dive deep into it. Now, this puppy is a new player that is growing slowly because you have to understand this way. Audio recorder, the wireless audio recorder, they are available that are super cheap, like a few dollars kind of cheap. Like in Indian rupees, it would be like, less than 3,000, 4,000 rupees. And contrast that with Rode wireless go to, like for this puppy, it's around 20,000, 30,000, like, DJI and all that. Those could go $300, $400. So super expensive. So you have super useless thing, even though they are cheap on paper, it's fully feature rich. It's just the audio quality is so horrible that you will not use it. Once you use it, it's like, yep, let's throw it away. So there was a giant gap. You had super cheap and expensive, nothing in between. So this company directly targeted in that spot. In Indian rupees, it makes a lot of sense. It was, you had nothing below 20,000. They're like, what if I launched it at around 10,000? It's like, they directly launched right there. So they are primarily focusing on something cost effective. So it's small, it's cheap, wireless microphone set. That is super rare. And be mindful, there are super cheap microphones that are wireless, but audio quality is just like throw it away. This company has been slowly working towards to a point where they're like, audio quality is actually good. And does that mean it's as good as DJI and all that? In double blind test, yeah, you will be. It's like hard to tell them apart. So it gives you two microphone and USB-C or camera receiver. You have to basically choose what you want. You can get a USB-C dock that is generally made for your mobile phone. You can get a adapter that can be utilized with your PC for USB audio transfer. It could be utilized with your camera with an analog audio output, like how I'm using right now. My Rode Wireless Go 2 is directly transmitting to that transmitter. Transmitter is transmitting into my camera using analog audios. For that, you have a different device available. So if you are a guy who only focused on mobile content creation, you do not need to pay money for that. You can save your little bit of money. So spend only 11,190 rupees and you're going to get just that USB-C one. If you're like, you know what, I want to be a bit more flexible, you can pay a bit more, 13,190 rupees. And you're gonna get USB and that camera receiver. So surprisingly dynamic, and they have invert Apple tax. So if you want to buy Apple as in Lightning, because you have to understand Apple has like basically European Union forced Apple to use USB-C. So Lightning is no longer a viable manufacturing thing. So USB-C, super low cost. Lightning, they will give you an adapter for some amount of money. And if you want that Lightning dock itself, not a cable dangling, yeah, you have to pay a lot, like almost 2x more. So I don't think Lightning will be available in the market for much long duration. So Apple tax. So this is Hollyland. This is what they are, like surprisingly dynamic, surprisingly adjustable to your budget. And you're like, does that really make sense to have this sort of difference? Well, not at people who are looking from this point of view. It's like, dude, just throw away these things, only make this into a default setup. But if you are cost like conscious, even this gap is significant enough. You can use this sort of gap to buy let's say SD card. So that's the whole point of Hollyland, or at least battery. So design, this is their unique selling point, because while they did had different devices, they were just like, oh, it's a round wireless go to, oh, it's a longer DJI mic to. It was not standing on its own. However, this time they genuinely built a new design, which was like, somebody like, hey, let's not just make ours is cheaper, let's make something unique. In that sort of scenario, they have succeeded. So they noticed the biggest problem is that this thing, that you have a giant block that is hanging, and again, you're supposed to have it otherwise, but you still have a giant black rectangle. So there's like, what if we separated the component into two parts? One part would be microphone, as in like as tiny as possible. Another part would be the actual electronic, meaning on top of your cloth that is accessible to camera would be a tiny black dot, no icon, nothing. And if you put it properly, like in your pocket or a black coat, you will not even see it, and all the bulky stuff that would be on the other end of cloth. So surprisingly clever design. So two-part design, mic capsule, and another part is electronic. Now, okay, that does work, and we do have like, Bluetooth dangle, so that is the thing. So how do you make sure the clip lasts long enough? Well, they could have used steel, but they're like, nah, titanium. So what does that mean? That simply means you can actually trust on this clip to last long enough, where it's not just like, oh, I used it like 1 to 2 months and then it's like either completely lost its elasticity or broke. So that's a very clever thing. On top of that, they also made sure that it's a very light, so it does not have this dangling effect. So as light as possible and very stealthy, meaning if you are putting even a little bit of effort, you can perfectly hide it. Now, does that matter? Yes, for video it matters, because again, most of the time we can't do other things than this, so we have to put up with it. Or you can have a, like, giant boom arm and a shotgun, or like you have a person if you are moving around. Yeah, that's not viable for most people, so they're like stuck with this. So this company bypasses it. So and this sort of low cost is like, might as well try. So it was a really unique take. That's why I'm covering them. It's like, it's genuinely unique. It's like somebody sat down and it's like, what are the problems? Okay, giant box and branding of DJI or Rode. So what if I replace that? It's like, tada. Even in their own website, they're like, stealth is the operation, completely invisible. And yes, you can achieve complete invisibility on any sort of darkish color. Now, what about the quality part of it? Well, it's made to work with everything. That is a very good thing, because you have to understand, very cheap ones, they only have analog audio output. Now, it does work well with your camera. It does not work very well with your laptop or things of this nature. They did not have this issue. They solved it. Rode Wireless Go 1 had that issue, where you could not use USB to transmit audio, so to say. It had, like, analog transmission. So they have made sure that it works with everyone. Adaptive noise cancellation. You have to understand, noise cancellation is a very integrated operation. Unless you are talking to a video, you in real-time monitoring requires excess computational power. It's not very easy. You cannot just like, oh, noise cancellation, I see. No, it's complicated. And if you do not do it properly, audio will be clear, but it will be sound very tinny. It has to remove so much to be damn sure that audio has been cleaned up, so to say. So they have to be adaptive. Consequence, it does require a lot of compute power. So companies can say AI noise, noise suppression. It's like, not AI, it's algorithm. And again, basic algorithm. It's not like AI, oh, this person is on the road, so I have to audio suppress it like that. No, they do not have that kind of SOC on board. So it's a very simple adaptive system, but does work good. Not great, but good. For this sort of price, really good. And it gets up to 48 kilohertz and 24-bit. Now, is that very good? Nah, that's a middle of the road. Not too bad, not too great, but it's like, okay. Not bad, as in like when you're transmitting through YouTube, that's more than good enough. And in terms of signal to noise ratio of the mics is 70 decibel, which is okay. You can get 80 or even 90 decibel, but at that point you are spending bonkersly large amount of money. And 116 decibels of signal pressure level. Now, what does that mean? That simply means it can work almost at a full out concert, unless you are next to a speaker. And once this decibel level, absolute decibel level, is increased, it will start to distort. So it's okay. It's actually not a very cost cut down. The mic capsule is actually decent. An 8-hour plus battery, but be mindful, because again, adaptive noise cancellation does require how much computation is doing based on the noise environment. If it's very quiet, adaptive noise cancellation will not consume too much battery, but if it's like very reactive, it will consume. So do expect the battery life to be less than 8 hours if you are using adaptive noise cancellation. Battery box gives 2.5x charge, which frustrates me to no end. Is like, is there one Chinese manufacturer is like, oh, if you have this tiny battery, we have this 2.5x battery of it, take it and go, like OEM package, take it and go. It's like, make it 3x or make it 2x. It's like, what the hell? Or 4x. So that battery is weird, but again, it does work with PC with a digital or audio track. That means you can actually use this in, like, live streams and all that. So it's good. It's a good stuff. However, let that be very clear, while the tool is very good, it's not a pro tool. Now, many pro tools are ludicrously expensive. Now, question becomes why? Well, this slide is just to clarify that. First, I will never recommend to utilize something like this for something serious. If you are doing it for like any sort of monetary gain, do not use this. You must have anything, if especially related to monetary gains, use something that has onboard recording. For example, this one, Rode Wireless Go 2, DJI Mic 2, DJI Pro mics, Rode Wireless Pro, all of that. Basically, something must have onboard recording. No matter how good the wireless transmission is, you will never rely on it. Like, if you go to any cinema production and it's like, you know what, this is like a wireless transmission, no onboard recording, they're like, it was okay in the old days, now it's not a okay scenario. So you have to have something that has onboard, because you cannot afford to oops it. And whenever you are in a noisy environment, noisy as in electromagnetic, basically I was in Delhi Expo, in those sort of, everybody has those wireless things. So if you do not have onboard recording, you will find random dropouts and other sort of issue. Even though you are very close to it, it's just electromagnetic noise is too high. So for that reason, for pro level work, basically where you are expecting to get paid and you cannot do retake, yeah, pay for equipments that have onboard recording. Another aspect, not having 32-bit float. Now, does that require some mandatory requirement? Especially if you're using lavalier, yes. But in other scenario, it's a little bit of wiggle room. Lavalier, it's a really big difference with onboard mics. It's like it gives you a bit of breathing room. It's a good technology to have, which is becoming more common from year 2020. So that's also a good thing. That's why I said 24-bit is not like whoa. 32-bit float is like whoa. So that's there. And non-replaceable battery, that makes it especially if you are doing a lot of run and gun scenario, you do not have the luxury of let's let it charge. You want your tool, you want to place fresh battery like how you do in your camera, and wabam. So to do that, that's why like DAT can give you like super expensive thing. But why people are buying it? Same with Sennheiser, they have battery. Meaning before you do action, you open it up, put new batteries in, do that, and put the old batteries into a charger, and then just keep doing it. Again, that is far more trustworthy than I hope I have remembered to charge it. So non-replaceable battery, and again in terms of lifespan, basically the amount of money you put into this will last you a very long time. Like people have been still using the ancient Sennheisers, but you can't keep using Rode or something. Like I have that. The problem is the battery dies out very quickly, like 2 years. And again, on smaller it is, the quicker the battery will wear out. So a big one like this one, I can expect 2 years of useful life. That tiny one, I would be shocked, especially in my use case scenario where I'm using it every day. I might reach a point where it's like, yeah, in 1 year it will be like, yeah bro, I can barely hold charge. So non-replaceable battery is a big issue of your investment. Another side, no support for outside lavalier microphone. Lavalier microphones, again, that signal to noise ratio that it has, yeah, at that point, yeah, 32-bit float is not that valuable. But if you have signal to noise ratio floor that is actually wide enough, you want a lavalier to actually utilize, because onboard capsules are like poop in contrast. So quality lavaliers, they are very expensive, but they do have lot of dynamic range. To capture that, you do need that 32-bit, so you do not have to like set the gain perfectly. So that's their lavalier microphone. And how do you hide lavalier microphone? Well, generally you spend a lot of time to plonk it into hair. So if you're seeing a lot of actresses, pay attention to the hair. You might notice it. And sometimes if the character is wearing glasses, that's the second best place. And clothing is generally good enough, like you can hide it. So that's there. And lack of time code. Now, can you work without time code? Yes, you can work, but you have to understand this aspect very clearly and very absolutely, that money does not buy time, it only buys speed. Whenever you are working on a production, and whenever you have multiple audio equipment or different audio equipment and different camera equipment working, which will be in this sort of wireless scenario, time code is shut up, take money. And another aspect is, even if you are doing transmission, it becomes a backup for you, because ideally you will use that 32-bit audio. Then question becomes, how the heck you sync that 32-bit audio file? Well, time code. So like say this DAT, it's big and bulky. It's like, what's the point of buying this? Well, it uses a different frequency compared to your 2.5 gigahertz that everybody is using. That's a big thing. Longer range, more uptime rather than like a random dropouts. And it uses AA batteries. So you can get a time code. And it has a SD card where you can put 128 gig SD card. So you cannot be like, oops, the recording was not there on all that. So there are reasons why people will pay for this or even for this. So let that be very clear. I would never ever recommend you to trust a wireless system solely as your core point. Or is the same thing why you pro cameras always have dual card slots. So it's not a pro tool. It's a good tool, but not a pro tool. So this was my presentation on basically this new interesting wireless microphone. Hopefully you guys have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.